Okay, so here are some video notes on rhombuses and squares. Sometimes you will hear um, people say rhombi or rhombi when they have more than one rhombus, and that's kind of cool because it kind of sounds like zombie, rhombi. All right, whatever. All right, so your rhombus is going to be a parallelogram, which means it has all the same properties of your parallelogram. So your opposite sides are parallel. Let's go ahead and mark that on our picture. You're going to use your chicken feet. Oh, it would help if I select the pen, wouldn't it? Okay, so chicken feet for parallel. Alright, and then double chicken feet. Okay. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, so we did that one in red. Color coordinate here. Ooh, fancy. Your opposite sides are congruent, and actually something that is special to a rhombus is that all four of your sides are going to be congruent. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. I'm going to use one tick mark in yellow here because your sides are all congruent. The next thing, your opposite angles are going to be congruent, and so that tells us that B and D are congruent, and then A and C are congruent, but we're going to wait to mark that. Your diagonals bisect each other. All right, so again, that means that AC and DB are bisecting each other, so E is the midpoint of BD, and E is the midpoint of AC. Okay, so let's go ahead and mark that. So we'll put a double buddy on BE because BE and DE are congruent. And then triple buddy, here we go. Alright, your diagonals are not going to be congruent. Alright, don't get that mixed up with rectangle. Alright, and then your consecutive or your next to each other angles are supplementary, meaning they add up to 180 degrees. Alright, something else that is special about your diagonals is they're actually going to bisect your opposite angles, which means they're going to cut your opposite angles in half. So that tells me if I know that angle ABC is, for instance, 80 degrees, half of 80 is 40. So this little baby and this little baby are all going to be 40. Okay? Since your opposite angles are congruent, these guys are also going to be 40 and 40. Okay? Let's go ahead and put a double buddy angle mark. So using my 40 example, if this guy over here is 80, then this guy over here has to be 100. Half of 100 is 50 and 50. Okay, so you got lots of matches going on. Alright, the other thing that's pretty cool about your rhombus is that your diagonals are perpendicular. So all of the ones around the center here are 90. Alright, so remember we use the little square box to represent 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and mark that. Alright, let's go ahead and do an example. So we're going to click to the next page. Alright, this looks a lot like your classwork. I pretty much just changed some of the numbers. So the first thing, let's go ahead and mark with our pen that these bad boys are going to be 90. Okay? That always works. Okay? And then let's go ahead and put our given information on our picture. So they told me AB is 14. AC is 16. Now, if the whole thing is 16, what do you know about your baby piece, AE, and your baby piece, EC? That's right, just cut them in half, so we get 8 and 8. Alright. And then, let's see, DB is 20. Alright, so again, E is the midpoint of... Alright, so... sorry for the brief interruption. Alright, so DB is 20. So since E is the midpoint of DB, what's half of 20? That's right, half of 20 is 10. Okay, so pretty much now we can do all the segments. So let's go ahead and do the segments, and then we'll deal with the angles in a second, okay? So since AB is 14, and you know that all four sides of the rhombus are congruent, we have another 14, another 14, and another 14. Okay. Then let's go ahead and fill in. So we have BC is 14. We have CD is 14. We have DA is 14. All right, AE, we just figured out that one was 8 because half of 16 is 8. BE is 10 because half of 20 is 10. CE is 8. And DE is 10. All right, not too bad. Angle time. So let's start with our given. Our given angle is EAB. So EAB, so it's going to be right up here, is 60. All right, so hopefully you remember that your diagonal is going to cut each of the opposite angles in half. So they're going to match. So if this guy is 60, its best buddy over here is also going to be 60. Okay? And the same thing is true of C. Okay? We have 60 and 60. Okay. So then if I'm looking at B, all right, so I have a right triangle, right? I have a 60 and I have a 90. So I can figure out the missing angle up here. If I just add 60 and 90, and then I get 150 and subtract that from 180, so 180 minus 150 gives me 30. You probably could have done that part in your head, so if you know that a triangle is 180 and you already have 90 taken care of, that means you have 90 left for these other two angles that are complementary. So 60 and 30 gives you 90. All right, so again, same thing applies. This one will be 30, and the ones at D will be also 30. Okay, now that we have that, the filling in the chart is going to be really easy. All right, so look at your middle letters. For instance, let's start with the E. We know that anything that has E as their vertex is going to be 90. So my bottom row is all 90. Ooh, that's an ugly 9. And 90 and 90. Okay, so D, anything with the vertex of D is going to be 30. So we have 30, and we have 30. Anything with the vertex of A is 60. Anything with the vertex of C is 60. Anything with the vertex of B is 30. Okay, so the hardest part for me is actually writing with this pen. Okay, so now let's move on to squares. Squares are nice. Okay, so in a square is actually a rectangle and a rhombus. If they got together and had a baby, it would be a square. Okay, so it has all the same properties of a parallelogram, of a rectangle, and a rhombus. So it's pretty nice to remember. Alright, so your opposite sides are parallel and congruent, and all four of them are actually going to be parallel and congruent. So let's go ahead and mark our parallels. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bam, and congruent. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay. Your diagonals bisect each other, and they actually, since it has the same properties of a rectangle, they actually are going to be congruent. So AE is congruent to BE, is congruent to EC, is congruent to DE. So yes, your opposite angles are congruent, but actually all 4 of your angles are congruent because all 4 of your angles are right angles. Okay, and your diagonals, again, are perpendicular, so everything around E is going to be 90. And since your diagonals bisect your opposite angles, and your opposite angles are 90, what's half of 90? That's right, 45. So actually, your only 2 options when you're filling out your angles for your square are either 45 or 90. We got 45, 45, all the way around. Woo, that's a little bit of a mess. And one more. Ooh, that's a mess. Okay, so actually let's go ahead and do an example. This will be really, really easy. Okay, so first thing, let's do our segments. We have AB is 15, and AC, the whole thing is 16. All right, so if the whole thing is 16, what is half of 16? Yep, 8. So we have 8 and 8. All right, now remember, your diagonals are congruent. So AC and BD are congruent. So if AC and BD are congruent and AC was 16, then what's BD? Yeah, it's 16. So we got another 8, another 8. All right, now let's go ahead and do this part. So since we know AB is 15, we also know that BC is 15, DC is 15, 15, and AD is 15. Probably shouldn't have picked 15 since I can't really draw 5 so well. All right, so BC we said was 15. CD we said was 15. DA we said was 15. DB, all right, so DB and AC matched up, so DB is also 16. And then these missing ones are all 8. 8, 8, and 8. Okay. Now, if you notice, a little bit different from last time, there are no angles that they have given me to start with. But you should remember that your diagonals are perpendicular, so go ahead and make your 90 box. All right, and your diagonals are bisecting your angles, so if the whole thing right here has to be 90, half of 90 is, again, 45. Okay. Get those in there as quickly as possible. Ooh, yeah, that's a 45. Okay. And last set, 45 and 45. Okay. So now let's just fill it in. All right, so if A, B, C, or D is in the middle, it's going to be 45. So these first 2 are 45. Please don't actually cheat like this. Actually write it out. It's a little easier for you guys to write with a real pencil. So we got 45, 45, 45, 45, and then anything with E in the middle for your vertex is 90. We have 90, we have 90, we have 90, we have 90. Done and done. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Sorry there were random breaks. People kept coming to visit me while I was making this.